back to Getaway Day. My name is Mason. His name is Gautam, and this is definitely not take 2 of this episode. We are back to talk some more baseball today. But before we get into that, if you enjoy our podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcasting app or YouTube. And if on YouTube, hit that little notification bell to make sure that you get notifications whenever we post new content. Be that some maybe some YouTube shorts of stuff that you may also see on our TikTok, baseball card videos. Every podcast gets put up there. Make sure you let us know your thoughts in the YouTube comments there, or by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or on Twitter or Facebook at Getaway Day Pod. And check out our TikTok. I don't think I mentioned that. That is also at Getaway Day Pod. So I think that is all of the housekeeping stuff. So, Gautam, I'm asking you totally for the first time today. How are you doing?
I am doing great today, and this is not the first time that I've said this. I'm going to say something different, but I don't know what I'm going to say. Something about Shohei Ohtani. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. He pitched a great game yesterday, and he's kind of like the only reason to watch the Angels at this point, right? There's no Mike Trout, there's no Rendon, but it's all good because Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, it's a good point. Shohei is something that brings joy to many lives, mine included. Yeah, so let's get into some This Week in Baseball. Then we're going to draw a giveaway that we've been running for the last 2 weeks. And then we're going to talk about some of the 2023 free agent class, because we're through the trade deadline now, and I just need more anarchy. So let's start figuring out who's going to be on different teams next year. All right, so over the weekend, we had 3 different series that were dominated by one team, quite frankly. That would be sweeps by the Cardinals over the Yankees and the Dodgers over the Padres. And then we also had a 5-game set between the New York Mets and the Atlanta Braves, with the Mets taking 4 out of 5. So, Gowie, you want to break down for the first time today the Mets-Braves series?
Yeah, so the Braves and the Mets were really close in the standings heading into this series, with the Braves just a game or 2 behind the Mets, and they've been both playing really well all season long for the most part. And then the Braves just sort of fell flat on their face, and they lost 4 out of 5. And the Mets are now 7.5 games ahead in the standings. So they've got some real margin there, and they look like they're headed towards the postseason bye for the first or the second seed. And I guess they're still competing with the Dodgers to get that first seed, but they seem like they're totally in the clear for not having to play the first round wild card series.
Yeah. I mean, Atlanta could definitely close the gap at 7.5 games. But the Padres are 9.5 back of the Mets for the second seed. The Cardinals are 13.5 back. And Milwaukee's 14 back. So really, it's going to take a 17-game winning streak just to get you back in contention for that second seed. So it definitely feels like the Dodgers and the Mets are going to run away with that first round bye. And it's kind of a similar story in the AL, but we'll get to that one here in the talking about the next series.
But yeah, the Mets were like unbelievable in this series. They had great pitching pretty much all around. On Sunday, Jacob deGrom was insane. He started the game with 5 perfect innings. He ended up giving up a walk and then a home run to Dansby Swanson, and then he kind of reached his pitch count of 75. But he's absolutely the best pitcher alive right now, and if they can get him healthy like into this postseason, it's going to be really tough to beat both him and Max Scherzer. So that's going to be a really tough matchup for anyone in the playoffs.
Yeah. Let's see. And then our second sweep of the weekend was my favorite St. Louis Cardinals over the New York Yankees, and this was kind of a really big series. So interleague play, Cardinals don't play the Yankees very often. They have not won a series against the Yankees since 2005, kind of because of that. But the Cardinals ended up taking game 1 4-3. And the starting pitching just really didn't look all that great in the series in general. In game 1, Dakota Hudson only went 4 innings. And then Andre Palante came in relief and pitched 4 innings and got the win. And then game 2, Jordan Montgomery made his Cardinals debut against his former team. And he went 5 innings, giving up 2 hits with 1 strikeout before Jordan Hicks came in for an inning and a third, Genesis Cabrera for an inning and 2/3, and Giovanni Gallegos getting the save there in a 1-0 ball game. And then Sunday looked a little bit more like what you would expect coming from the Yankees. And if I can find the actual box score here, because I had it pulled up and now it seems to have disappeared on me. There we go. Adam Wainwright this is probably the worst game he's had all year. I mean, he only went 4 innings, giving up 8 hits, 6 earned runs, 4 walks. Just did not look good at all. He gave up he didn't even give up the home run. He just gave up a ton of hits. And Stratton ended up coming in, going an inning and 2/3, gave up 2 more runs. But then we started settling into a groove there at the towards the end with Jordan Hicks going another inning and a third for the second day in a row. Packy Naughton, Ryan Helsley getting the save there. But the Cardinals just kind of outmatched, putting up 12 runs behind a 3-run home run from Nolan Arenado, a 3-run home run from Paul DeYoung. Dylan Carlson, I think, had an RBI double. And that's kind of what I would expect from a game against the Yankees, though, is a 12-9 game. Like, how were the Cardinals with such bad starting pitching for the series able to keep the Yankees down to 3 runs in the first 2 games?
Yeah, I don't know. It's unusual for sure, but I think the Yankees are just in a little bit of a rut right now. They just lost a series against the Mariners. I think they'll get out of it, but right now they're just like kind of middling their way through the season.
Yeah. But that second loss on Saturday actually knocked them down to the 2nd seed in the AL. So in the AL, they're now behind Houston by, I think it's only a half a game. Yeah, it's only a half a game, so not much, but they were the best team in all of baseball for basically through the All-Star break, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and now they're behind the Dodgers, the Mets, the Astros. So they need to get something figured out here. Like, yeah, they're at no risk at all of missing the playoffs. But at some point,
Matt Carpenter broke his foot on a foul ball.
Yeah. Luckily, it was a clean break, and so he doesn't need surgery. So he's out 6 to 8 weeks, but it could have been worse.
Yeah, we'll see if he comes back for the playoffs or what. But he's just playing ridiculously well for them.
What's with all the former Cardinals on the Yankees having foot problems? Bader has plantar fasciitis.
Oh, but he got that with the Cardinals.
Well, yeah. And Matt Carpenter lost his ability to run or do anything other than hit home runs in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
With the Cardinals. So, yeah. So, but yeah, the Yankees, they're definitely on a skid here. Aaron Judge did finally break out of his slump and hit home run number 45 today against the Mariners, but I don't know. I guess it's starting to look a little bit odd, some of the moves the Yankees made at the deadline just with the 6 games since, doesn't it?
I mean, I was saying that last week that their moves were a little bit strange to trade out their starting pitching depth and not really add a whole lot, but
yeah,
Frankie Montas is good.
Well, I'm just saying that this is kind of doubling down on how weird it was, because Montas was not good in his start against the Cardinals. He pitched in that Sunday game and gave up 6 through 3 innings. So like,
Yeah.
and
He's
I
had
think
a
that was
tough time
his.
though because it was his first start because he went immediately on the bereavement list right when he got traded to the Yankees, and then before that he had missed a bunch of time with the injury, so I
Yeah.
think he's a little rusty.
Yeah, and I definitely get that, but it just makes you question the decision to trade Jordan Montgomery to the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Um, but and then the other big series this weekend, Dodgers Padres. You want to break that one down for us?
Yeah, so this one, everyone is hyping this series up a lot because it was going to be Juan Soto's first Padres series against the Dodgers, and the Dodgers just fully just dominated the series. They won the first game 8-1. They won the second game 8-3, and then they shut them out 4-0 in the last game. So the Padres, after they acquired Juan Soto, they had one amazing game, and then they lost 5 games in a row immediately. So we can't forget about the Dodgers. They made almost no like major moves at the deadline. And the Padres go out and do all this, and we can't make any grand judgments just by one series. But the Dodgers are still kind of the class of the division and really the class of Major League Baseball. And they're going to be getting back a whole bunch of pitchers now too. Walker Buehler is making his way back. Dustin May's doing rehab right now. Fortunately, Kershaw got hurt again, but I mean, they can handle it. They can handle whatever injuries they face.
I am so excited to see Dustin May come back. Watching that injury last year, I was actually watching that game live. That was tough to watch because you could just see mid pitch his elbow just go, and he was obviously devastated and in pain. But he's such a good young pitcher that if he comes back and is even somewhat what he was before the Tommy John for the rest of this year, oh my goodness, the Dodgers are going to be so good.
He he definitely looks pretty darn good in his rehab starts. So I think they're going to be pretty happy. I guess like if you're the Padres, like what what more can you do at this point? How do you catch up to the Dodgers exactly? Is it
Uh,
even possible?
it, I don't think it's possible this year. Like 15 and a half games back, the Dodgers are not looking like they're going to slow down. They would have to go into like um, April Cincinnati Reds slump to for the Padres to even catch up. Like,
So, but I would say that the Padres can beat the Dodgers in a short series, right? That's not
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, that's not crazy. The fact that the Padres only put up what was it, 4 runs in the series
Yeah.
was a little bit. Uh, I'm flabbergasted by that. Like I don't understand it. Like this is a really good team. The top 6 in that lineup is stout. Um, yeah, the back 3 and Will Myers, Kim Hasong, Austin Nola leaves a lot to be desired, but they only had 2 hits on Sunday. They had um what was it? 6 hits on Saturday. Um and an error. And the Dodgers had 2 errors, and that's I think part of how they ended up scoring all or some of their runs. Um yeah, actually all 3 of the Padres runs on Saturday were unearned runs. So they just could not put the ball in play. And I don't know if we should give credit there to Andrew Heaney. Tyler Anderson just flat out dominated on Sunday. Like that one's all him.
Yeah. I think it's just all credit to Dodgers pitching, really, because there's no way that this is actually going to be what the Padres offense kind of looks like most of the time. I think they scored 13 runs today, so they clearly have it in them. They just got beat in this series, and I don't think it means a whole lot other than the Dodgers are good, which we already know that.
Yeah. Um I didn't even realize on that Friday game the Padres didn't even put up their run until the top of the ninth.
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah, they'll figure it out. That Dodgers team is just so ridiculously good. So,
and their record right now is 76-33. They've almost won 70% of their games.
yeah, that is nuts. That's kind of where the Yankees were before they started their little losing skid here,
Right.
because they've lost 8 of their last 10, and they're still at a 634. Dang. So any other games that you want to talk about from this weekend or week? Because I've got another topic, but it's more specific to one guy.
No, I don't think so.
All right, so let's move on to the big news of today, and that is that the Detroit Tigers have fired their GM Al Avila. Can't say I'm surprised. The Tigers are awful this year. They're 43-68. 387 winning percentage, which is only better than Oakland in the American League. They are actually they're only better than Oakland and Washington in the entire major leagues. And this is a team that has a bunch of really young players that have a lot of upside and a lot of high expectations. They went out, they signed a big shortstop in Javi Baez this offseason, brought in Eduardo Rodriguez to bolster their rotation in front of some of these young guys like Tarek Skubal, Casey Mize, Matt Manning. And it ain't working.
Yeah. I think, so starting at the end there, everything that they did going into the 2022 season has not worked out at all. I mean, Baez has not been very good. Not that he couldn't be better over the next few years of the deal or whatever, but Eduardo Rodriguez has barely pitched. And the biggest thing that I keep thinking about with the Tigers is that none of their young players really seem to get any better, right? They all just seem to make it to the majors. A lot of them are really highly touted, like Mize and Manning and Skubal. Skubal's like the one case of the guy that has pitched really well, and he seems like he's gotten better. But everyone else just sort of stalls out once they reach the majors.
Yeah, and so between that, the trades that they've made, and the other free agents they've brought in Al Avila's tenure, which started way back in 2015 when Dave Dombrowski was fired. Like, he's not Perry Manassian, who I was complaining about last week. Perry Manassian's only been in the role for 2 years, and I think that he needs to be gone because I don't think he's that good. But Al Avila had every opportunity to build a contending team. He had 7 years with a team that was already pretty good. It was getting old, admittedly. Justin Verlander, Miguel Cabrera, those were their superstars, and those guys now are still kind of superstars. Justin Verlander this year has been the Cy Young conversation, I think. If he's not, then the Cy Young voters are dumb. But
you were reading off all their trades that he's made over these 7 seasons.
Yeah.
And
so
basically all the guys they got back, out of all those guys, the one guy that was a real contributor was Alex Lang, who's just a reliever.
I was going to say, I'll just read him off real quick. So in Al Avila's tenure, he has traded away Justin Verlander, JD Martinez, Ian Kinsler, Shane Green, and Nick Castellanos. Before I talk about the return, is it just me, or would you say that 4 out of those 5 guys have kind of been good or really good since they've left the Tigers? I would even throw Kinsler. I would throw Kinsler in there. Shane Green, he was what, a reliever? Yeah. So he was pretty good, but he's not one that sticks out to you. But Castellanos is now one of the big sluggers on the Phillies. He's been over to the Cubs and helped them make a playoff push. He was awesome with the Reds last year. Justin Verlander has more no-hitters. Was he Cy Young or second in the Cy Young to Garrett Cole?
I think he was second. But I don't I don't remember, but he was
Yeah.
really good. He
And,
became much better when he left the Tigers. That's
yeah.
another
And
important
he
thing.
helped Houston win a World Series. JD Martinez, I believe, has won a World Series with the Red Sox. And I think he was originally shipped down to Arizona, wasn't he?
Yeah, yeah. He was a rental that one season, and they basically got nothing back for him, and then he went crazy in the second half with the Diamondbacks.
Yeah. But the guys that the Tigers got back for these 5 big contributors were Franklin Perez. Ever heard of him?
Yeah,
I mean, I barely
sadly.
remember his name. Jake Rogers, who has been their catcher for a while, or was, he's not anymore. Daz Cameron, Dowell Lugo, Wilkel Hernandez, Troy Montgomery, Travis Demerit, Joey Wentz, Alex Lang, and Paul Reichen.
That is just brutal.
Yeah.
That's not a great group.
Absolutely brutal.
Almost no production from that entire group combined.
Yeah. Yeah. Jake Rogers might have some career WAR to his name. That's only because of the plate appearances he's got. And I mean, as long as he can catch a ball that's coming at him at 100 mile an hour, he's going to get a little bit of WAR. But he's probably their biggest contributor. So, and then 7 years, 7 drafts. Some of them pretty recent, but like the first round picks Avila made. Matt Manning, Alex Fado, Casey Mize, Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, Jackson Jobe, and Jace Jung. They're all really good by name. None of them have panned out yet. Yeah, Torque is still pretty young. He's what, 24?
Yeah, I don't think we can really judge any of those last 4.
Yeah.
The jury's still out on those guys, but like to this point, yeah, in their first taste of the majors, like we can't say, oh, they're for sure good major leaguers or anything like that.
Yeah, but we can go back and start looking at the first 3, Matt Manning, Alex Fado, and Casey Mize from 16 through 18. Those are guys who you would expect to be in the majors right by now and contributing at least on a somewhat significant level, if not being superstars for your. Casey Mize was the number 1 overall pick in 2018. Like, you would expect him to be really good by now in the majors. He's had a lot of injury issues, and he's not really been that great whenever he was healthy. Like, I don't know. Obviously, that's not on Avila, but what is the, how am I trying to say this? The development, the player development group is hired by Avila.
I think, yeah, it's definitely like more than just Avila, right? But
it starts with Avila.
Like it always starts with him. Yeah, he's responsible for this situation. It's going to be difficult. I don't know. Like they don't seem like they're on the right track. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah. And I just thought this was interesting. So everything I'm reading here is from an article by Kirkland Crawford of the Detroit Free Press. But I just thought it was really funny in the very last paragraph in the results section. Since 2016, the Tigers have developed homegrown 2 All-Stars in Joe Jimenez in 2018 and Gregory Soto 21 and 22.
So 2 relievers who were just their token All-Stars, basically.
Yeah. So they're not. And it's weird because, like, I want to say that the team is in a good place to compete in the future, in the very near future. But I thought that this year, and they're the 3rd worst team in baseball.
Yeah, that was the last thing I was going to say about them. Just a year ago, we were talking about how excited we were about this team and all their prospects and going out and doing stuff in free agency and everything. We were praising them. Now here we are just ripping them to shreds.
Yeah. What do you say we go do something more fun and uplifting than talking about the terrible Tigers?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Who's ready to do a giveaway? So we have been running a giveaway for 2 weeks to give away one of these lovely Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert dual bobbleheads. that Gautam and I got at the Orioles White Sox game on I almost said January and then July, and neither of those are correct. June 25th. It is a sweet bobblehead. I've got 2 of them, so I want to give one away to you guys. We had 15 entries, which was a little bit short of the goal to get a second prize in the giveaway of 100 entries. So, oops. But let's give this thing away right now. So I did go through our Twitter, our Facebook, and our TikTok, and I gathered everyone who followed all of the instructions, which was to share publicly, like, and follow the account. So if you didn't do all 3 of those things, your name is not in here. And that's just to be fair. It's I can't really go and give a whole bunch of I don't want to say pity entries, but I can't go and inflate the pool with people who only followed some of the instructions here. So I have it all in a Excel sheet, and the way I'm going to do this is I've got a random number generator pulled up here, and I am just going to random it 3 times, and I'm going to take the third one, go to that that line in my list here, and then that will be our winner. And our winner is Bunktoozy from TikTok, who I believe, because TikTok was a little bit weird and I couldn't do a public share, I did ask for the entrants to tell us their favorite player. So let's just find out what Bunktoozy's favorite player is. Julio Rodriguez. So congratulations to Bunktoozy. I know he is not in here right now listening, so I'll reach out to him on I'll reach out to him on Twitter because he entered there as well. So thank you all very, very much. And we will do another giveaway at some point. So keep an eye out on our social media platforms for that. Got anything you want to say about that?
Nope.
All right. Ooh, I just had a random thought. We have not talked about this before. You know that link I sent you the other day of that project I was working on that may or may not have a number 21 on the back?
The shirts? I don't know what you're talking about.
The shirts?
Oh, yeah.
Should I share that with the group?
Sure.
All right. So, for those of you who are in my Discord server, I believe I have posted a link to Teespring, where we are now selling t-shirts and stickers. So I'm going to drop that link here in the Twitch chat, and I will put it on our social media as well. But yeah, you can get t-shirts, stickers. If there's anything else that people want, I can go and design that, and you're more than welcome to purchase it. We do get a cut of that, which would help us grow our podcast here, allow us to do more giveaways, allow us to do a little bit of advertising to get our name out there more. So if you're interested in that, by all means, there's the link. We would very much appreciate it, but we're not going to ask for anyone to go do that. That is only if you want to. If you do, please let me know, because we would like to send a thank you, and I do not believe that it tells me who orders. So make sure to let us know, and I will drop the Discord link here in Twitch chat as well, so you could always tell us through there if you would like. All right, main topic time. Free agents 2023. I'm tired of there not being players on new teams now, and I need anarchy. So
hey, Franmil Reyes is a Cub. That was your latest transaction.
That's true. He did get DFA'd and picked up by the Cubs. TJ McFarland was DFA'd today. Maybe he goes to the Cubs.
Maybe.
So we will have to see about more DFAs and signings. Also, if uh, the guy from the Mets that's still not on a team,
Conforto.
yeah, if Michael Conforto ever gets signed, we'll make sure to update you on that. But
I don't think that's happening. He's hurt, but
is he really?
that was the reason he didn't sign. They said he's out for the season.
Oh, that's awkward. I wish I would have known that. But yeah, so I wanted to talk about some of the biggest free agents and some of the teams that have a lot of pending free agents this coming season that are potentially going to be really active and maybe in some of these top guys. So I guess who, in your opinion, Gowie, is the most interesting free agent on the market? I know there's a ton of guys, some guys with opt outs that we're kind of expecting to opt out. Some guys who are maybe just coming out of arbitration. But
The
who's
most interesting guy,
yeah.
that's a hard one, but I feel like I'll go with Jacob DeGrom if he opts out of his $30.5 million option, which he's very likely to do because he's the best pitcher when he's healthy, and I feel like he can easily break Max Scherzer's record for AAV. Right, Scherzer got 43.3 million for 3 years for each of the 3 years of his contract. And I feel like DeGrom could get a $50 million a year contract. What do you think about that? If it's just like 2 or 3 years,
So I could see it, but maybe only on a 1 year deal, to be honest with you. And that's only because he's only made 29 starts in the last 3 years. He's been hurt a lot. He's 34 years old. At some point, his body's not going to be able to continue to recover as quickly, and it's going to become more of an issue.
I think we've already reached the point where his body's not working so well.
That's kind of my point. We're already kind of there. Like, the reason Scherzer got 43.3 for over or for every year over a 3 year period is because he's still as dominant. Well, maybe not as dominant. He's still mostly as dominant as Jacob DeGrom, but he's played a heck of a lot more innings. So I could definitely see 50 million for Jacob DeGrom. I just don't see it for 3 years. I think teams are it's going to have a lot of clauses in it that allow them to get out of it if it's 50 million a year for 3 years.
I think teams would be interested even if it was like 2 or 3 years because that shouldn't kill you. But a team that's ready to contend right now, they should pony up and make that deal happen. But I really do see him just going back to the Mets because Uncle Steve is going to be willing to do it.
Oh, 100%. Now, something that just kind of popped in my head, and I don't know, I can't really name any specific contracts that maybe are structured like this in baseball, but what if it was a 3 year deal with the first year being a guaranteed 50, years 2 and 3 be some more reasonable, like 25 million a year with escalators of if you pitch this many innings, you'll get this bonus. And that way, like, he can get 50 million a year for 3 years, or 150 million over 3 years, but it's vesting basically based on innings pitched because he has been injured a ton. And that would be a little bit more of a protection for the team, although technically I think it would screw up the whole AAV record thing.
Yeah, so, and maybe it has like opt outs in it or something. I do think that this one will be a unique contract just because it's a really interesting situation for a special player.
Yeah. And I kind of think that Justin Verlander, who has a $25 million player option in 2023, would be a pretty similar situation. I mean, he's 40 years old right now, but he's thrown 130 innings with 1.73 ERA. Like, he is dominating this year. If he doesn't win the Cy Young this year, I will be shocked. He's been the best pitcher in the American League and maybe even in the majors. And he's doing it kind of quietly, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I could see his contract being similar, or maybe his contract be 1 year deals of $30 million until he decides he wants to retire, because he does have kids, he does have a wife. At some point he's probably going to want to retire to be with his
But
family.
he's also talked about wanting to pitch into his mid-40s. So if he wants to do that, he can definitely probably get like a 2-year deal or a 3-year deal or something if he wanted to.
Yeah, I'm sure he could, because what was or how old was Scherzer when he signed his 3-year deal?
37.
All right, so it'd be roughly the same, but not quite.
Yeah. But Justin Verlander, he's a unicorn. He's just defied all the aging curves.
Well, I mean, we already talked about him in the Avila segment too. Like, yeah, this guy is just nuts.
Yeah.
But, so, Verlander isn't the one that to me is maybe the most interesting. I just thought that it piggybacked really well off of the DeGrom conversation there. But to me, I think the most interesting free agent is, I mean, this is kind of a cop-out answer because it's everybody's answer, is Aaron Judge.
I mean, it's not a cop-out, it's true.
Well, true.
Everyone wants to know what's going to happen here. Are the Yankees going to pay up?
Yeah,
they tried to get a steal on him, and to be honest, right, that 7-year, $213.5 million offer that they made him, that would be a steal if he plays like this for even 3 years of the next contract.
Yeah, like when he was offered that 7-213.5, I actually thought that seemed fair. Like,
at the time, I think it was fair.
Low. But he bet on himself, and now he's got 45 home runs through August 10th. It might have been Sarah Langs that posted or that tweeted this. Let me see if I can find it real quick. But basically, through 110 games, Aaron Judge has the third most home runs behind Barry Bonds in 2001 or
2002.
2002. I believe Sammy Sosa. Come on, where's never mind, not Sammy Sosa. Here it is. 2001 Barry Bonds had 47 home runs through 112 games.
You're talking about that.
1921 Babe Ruth, 46. Aaron Judge, 2022, 45. 1998 Mark McGwire, 45. So he's right on pace with the guys who were hitting 70 home runs, 73 home runs. Babe Ruth, I think that was his 60 home run season.
Like, that's pretty interesting. So Barry Bonds just went absolutely crazy in that last 2 months of 2001.
Well, and Mark McGwire did the same in 98 during the home run race. Him and Sammy Sosa were both at about 40, 45. And then in the last 2 months, they were hitting home runs like every day. So
juice balls and steroids.
And cork bats. Can't forget the cork bat. But, I mean, this guy's 30 years old. And he's just hitting free agency for the first time. He is the definition of a late bloomer.
Yeah. But for as good as he is, like, I would not really want my team, if I wasn't a Yankees fan, I would not want my team to sign this guy because I feel like he's not going to age so well.
I don't think he's going to age well, and as big as he is, his body has already taken a pretty big beating. The fact that he's stayed healthy, through August 10th is kind of amazing for him the last couple of years. He hasn't really stayed healthy for a full season since his rookie season, has he?
Last year he stayed healthy.
Oh, did he?
For the most part, yeah.
148 games last year. But then, yeah, it was 2017, and his rookie season was the last time that he played about 145 or more games. So
yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that if he stays healthy for the next like 3-4 seasons, he's going to be one of the best players in the league. But beyond that, like, it could be really bad. But I guess in these big contracts, you're kind of paying for the early years of production, then you don't even worry about what happens after that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the shortstops. There's some good ones in this class.
Yeah, so this is something that we started talking about a little bit last week. There's actually 4 big shortstops in this class. Um, and I don't know how I would even rank them. Like,
Pretty hard to rank them, so we'll just give the names of them. So the guys that are for sure free agents: Trey Turner of the Dodgers and Dansby Swanson of the Braves, who's had a career year, I would say, this year, and kind of put himself. I don't know if I would say that Dansby is the lowest of the 4 guys because he hasn't had as long a track record of being just a superstar player.
yeah, I think if you're looking at like long-term track record, that's accurate. Um, Dansby is oh, he's not the youngest.
Correa is the youngest.
Oh, it feels like Correa's been around forever.
He has. He just started so young. So the other 2 guys are Carlos Correa and Xander Bogaerts, who are both expected to opt out of their contracts. Xander has like 3 years on his deal that are still remaining, but it's just for 60 million. So seems like he should be able to easily beat that. And then Correa's got a $35 million option, which I, I mean that's a lot of money, but I'm sure he's looking for that long term deal. Um,
Yeah, and he's a guy that like his production this year hasn't been as impressive as one would expect, but he's still been really good. Like he's definitely behind pace of his 6.3 WAR season last year. Where he hit 279, 366, 485 with 26 home runs, a very suppressed 18% K percentage, a 134 WRC plus. He was just flat out awesome last year. And so you compare his numbers from this year to last year, and you're like, he's not that good. No, the dude's still 21% better than your average hitter with the 265, 342, 431. He's got 13 home runs, so he's not going to reach that 26 most likely unless he goes on just an absolute Aaron Judge level tear. But that's really good production, especially for a shortstop. And he's 28.
The part you haven't mentioned is that out of these 4, I'd say that he's probably the best defender too. And he seems like the guy that would be most likely to continue being a shortstop for 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of exactly what we were saying last year whenever we were talking about his free agency.
Yeah, so very little has changed from last year to this year. So
yeah, the biggest thing has been that he's not been on the field the entire year this year so far. He's only played 85 games out of the 110 that the team's played.
And the fact that he's the youngest feels like he should be the guy that gets the biggest deal of the 4.
Yeah, and I mean, he might only get 30 AAV, but he's probably going to get 6-7 years.
Yeah.
Like I honestly don't know why he didn't get that contract last year. Was there a qualifying offer tied to him? I imagine there was.
Yeah. So that's a key point. So there was a qualifying offer last year, which means he's not eligible for it this year, which means he's just that much more desirable to all the teams that are going to be pursuing him.
Yeah, because now he not only costs money or he doesn't cost money and a prospect or a draft pick.
A pick, yeah.
Which I mean, a draft pick is a prospect. So
yeah, a future prospect. Yeah.
Yeah. So now he only costs money, and what is money to teams that are budgeting for it anyway?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So makes sense. So, but after Correa, I don't know. Trey Turner maybe is the next interesting one to me personally, just because of how high profile he's been, and just how good he is. He's the fastest guy in the league, and he hits on the same level as Xander Bogaerts. So I feel like that speed is like the one thing that to me would vault Trey over Xander. And Xander, I don't think he's still pretty fleet of foot. He's not like running around with cinder blocks on his feet, but
Right. And I do think that this year's Xander's season, he's been really good as he usually is, but there's been a lot less power than he's shown in the past. Maybe it's nothing, but maybe it's something, and we'll see how the teams respond to that.
And maybe it's Maybelline.
Maybe it is.
You did not know how to react to that. Sorry. It was right there.
No
I couldn't
problem.
pass up on that. But yeah, so the free agent class is definitely the most interesting positional class to
Off the
me.
top of your head, what teams do you think would be interested in these guys? Because obviously those four teams need shortstops too. So it might be a situation where one of these guys goes to one of the teams that loses their shortstop.
Yeah, well, so yeah, obviously these four teams, but then the Cubs have money to spend and they need to go get a guy to build a team
A
around
big bat.
with Seiya
Yeah.
Suzuki, because if they're going to lose Wilson Contreras, who we'll probably talk about here in a minute, they're going to have to find an anchor for their lineup and a guy they can build around. So I could see them going in on Carlos Correa or Trey Turner. If the Yankees lose Aaron Judge, they now have to fill an outfield spot.
Yeah, that's a great call.
But they could also go and replace Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who swings a pool noodle for a bat,
Yeah.
with some guy who is going to sit there and actually produce while also being good defensively. And then, because outfielders are, I don't want to say a dime a dozen, because especially when you're
It's
Aaron
kind of
Judge.
true. It's kind of true beyond the elite guys, right? So you got Aaron Judge, but who's even close to his level that's a free agent that's an outfielder? All the rest of the guys are like way, way different players.
I mean, the next big outfielder free agent is probably Brandon Nimmo and Andrew Benintendi.
Yeah, so that's a completely different level of player. And those guys kind of are dime a dozen. Not that they're not good players, it's just that they're pretty easy to find.
Yeah, and
on
I
the free
kind of
agent
wonder
market.
if that's why the Yankees maybe went and got Harrison Bader, knowing he wasn't going to play this year. Slot him out in center next year whenever he's back and healthy. You know he's probably not going to be swinging the best bat, but he's been improving on the offensive side of the ball the last few years. And then that allows you to go out and get Carlos Correa, go out and get Trey Turner, and bolster your offense there. So maybe that's what they're setting up to do. But yeah, I mean there's tons of teams that need shortstops. So it's really hard to figure out who's going to be in on these guys, because it should be everybody. Every team should be making offers to at least one of these guys, except for maybe Boston is going to stick with Trevor Story, but he's not been terribly good this year. So are you comfortable moving Trevor Story to shortstop and saying, you're our guy? Go figure out how to hit again.
He's had his own troubles with like throwing the ball and stuff. So
yeah. So, and God, I'm trying to think what other big shortstops. I mean, Javi Baez is locked up by the Tigers, but I'm guessing they're kind of regretting that now. Or at least for this year. But other than that, I can't think of a team that's really like locked in on a shortstop long term.
the Padres, Tatis.
Oh, that's fair. I forgot about him because he's not played yet. So
yeah.
He is on rehab assignment though.
Mm-hmm.
So we're close to seeing Tatis, Soto, and Manny Machado all in the lineup, one after another.
Yeah.
And that's going to be awesome. I really wish Eric Hosmer were still here so I could see him at batting cleanup. Such a shame. It might have been mean. But yeah, so I think the other market that's
starting pitchers.
Well, before we get to starting pitchers, I was actually thinking there's a lot of first basemen. Like no one that is of like the caliber of what Paul Goldschmidt's doing this year. And first basemen are kind of like outfielders; they're a dime a dozen. But there are some good ones in this class. You got 31-year-old Trey Mancini. You've got 33-year-old Anthony Rizzo. You've got 36-year-old Jose Abreu, 30-year-old Josh Bell. So they're kind of older, but they're all power guys. And Bell and Abreu and Rizzo have all been awesome this year. Like they're definitely going to have offers from a couple different teams. Trey Mancini is maybe a little more of a niche guy for teams that miss out on those three and kind of want a veteran in their clubhouse. But I don't know. I still think that's going to be a really interesting market. So
the thing about the first baseman is they don't seem like they do too well in free agency just because they are easy to replace, like you've been saying. Like Rizzo himself, really, he's had a really good career, and all he was able to get was a 2-year deal this year with the Yankees. You don't really see like big free agent first baseman deals that much that I can remember.
yeah, that's fair. And then I guess the last guy before we talk about pitchers, because I think pitchers is going to be the one other interesting one, is you never get a catcher of the caliber of Wilson Contreras on the free agent market. It seems. JT Realmuto, I think he did technically reach free agency, ended up re-signing with the Phillies, but
Yeah, that's right.
he's kind of the last guy I could think of that was like a big catcher on the market. And catcher being such a premium position and such an important position, he's probably going to set the record for a catcher, right? There's no way he doesn't, right?
The only thing that might kill him is the qualifying offer, actually, which the Cubs will almost certainly offer him.
That
And
is a good point.
I will say that maybe that makes it more likely that he signs back with the Cubs, but hard to say.
I mean, I guess at the same time though, like, yeah, the qualifying offer is stupid. I wish it didn't exist. I understand why it's back because I also didn't want the international draft. But in a position like catcher, how much is that really going to deter somebody? Because if your option is one more pick for a lottery ticket, or the best catcher in the game for 5 years, I would take the best catcher in the game. Like I don't think it would be a question. But then again, that's just me. But it just seems like a position like catcher is a little bit different than, say, a first baseman with a qualifying offer or Carlos Correa with a qualifying offer. It seems like one of those that you just say, I don't care, and you go and you do it. Because
Yeah.
after him, JT's really not been what he was. Like, who are the other, like, really dual threat offensive and defensive catchers at this point?
I mean, probably the other really good catcher in the league is Sal Perez, who has not had a good season, but I mean, he was really good last year.
Well, and maybe that's another knock that's going to keep Contreras from getting a big deal. Is
Yeah,
that
there's
there's
big money deals for catchers don't work out.
yeah, but I don't know. It seems to me that if a team doesn't go and give him a big contract, that they're making a bad decision. But that's just me. So, all right, let's wrap it up with some pitchers. So we've talked about DeGrom, we've talked about Verlander. Who else is on the free agent market, and who is like the interesting guys in your opinion? Because there's going to be tons of pitchers, but there's only probably 5 or 6 that are like really interesting situations.
Yeah. So I think Carlos Rodon is really interesting because he's got an opt out that he's surely going to use because he stayed healthy all year and he's been great, just like he was last year. So he should be getting at least a multi-year deal this time. Um, I like I can't like I'm very scared of his health history and everything, but I can't deny that he stayed healthy for 2 years and like he deserves the contract.
Yeah, yeah, he 100% deserves it. I mean, he made the All Star game, I think, for the second time in a row. Didn't he make it last year?
I don't know, probably.
But and he's leading the league in the National League in FIP. He's got an ERA under 3 for the second year in a row. Like, oh yeah, for the second consecutive season, Rodon has posted an ERA under 3 and made an All Star team. So yes, he was an All Star last year. But yeah, he's pitched 128 innings, which I think is probably the most he's pitched in a long time, with the exception of last year.
I'd probably ever, yeah.
Well, and he's almost past what he did last year. He only pitched 132.2.
Yeah, because he actually was sort of injured last year at the end of the year, if you remember.
Yeah, and he pitched 139 in his rookie season in 2015 and 165 back in 2016. He's never reached that 30 game threshold. But right now he's at 22 games, nearing his third highest innings mark of his career. So definitely looking like a good sign for him to go get the contract that he deserves. Some other guys that are free agents that I can't see them going to different teams. Clayton Kershaw is a free agent. I can't see him going anywhere but back to the Dodgers.
No, I really can't.
In the same vein as Adam Wainwright, he doesn't seem like he's ready to hang it up yet, because he's not announced he's retiring at the end of the season. He's going for 200 wins in his career. He's close. He's at 190, but unless he wins every other start of the season, and even if he does, I think he's still maybe a game short. So I would 100% expect Adam Wainwright to be back next year at the age of 42, which would probably be his final season. But he's not going anywhere but St. Louis. Then you get to some guys like Chris Bassett. Oh, no, actually, I want to skip them for now because they're not really that interesting. Let's talk about Charlie Morton. Charlie Morton is 39 years old. He's having a decent season. His ERA doesn't really look like it's been that good because it's a 4.26, but he's pitched 122 and 2/3 innings for the Braves with a 1.5 WAR. He's been really good, a lot better at home than on the road. And April is kind of where he has been, or where he struggled, that ballooned his ERA up. But he's posted a 3.52 ERA in 5 starts in June, a 3.3 in 5 starts in July, and a 3.55 in 2 starts here in August. He's got a $20 million club option for 2023. If you were the Braves, would you entertain maybe actually exercising this option, or would you let him hit free agency?
I think I would definitely consider it strongly. Like 20 million for a pretty good pitcher on a 1-year deal, like that's not crazy. And I think Charlie Martin's still good. I think he just had a rough start to the year. I don't know whether that was because of the broken leg or whatever, but he's been pretty good to end of the season. I think as long as he stays healthy the rest of the way, they're going to need him in the playoffs again. And yeah, I'd bring him back for 20 million. Why not?
Yeah, and I mean, I would honestly look at him as almost a direct foil of Adam Wainwright. Like, they're both, well, so Charlie Morton's 39, Waino's 41. Their pitch mix is pretty similar. They rely on a lot of slow breaking stuff. I think Morton does maybe still have a mile or an hour or two on the fastball over Waino.
Way more than a mile. He throws hard still.
Does he? What's
he
throw?
Throws 95, yeah.
Oh, geez. Oh, yeah. No, never mind. Not a good foil. Because I was going to say, it feels like they're both kind of those old guys that they don't throw, they pitch. And so it's different than a lot of the other guys in the league right now, and that's why they're able to have success, is because they're outthinking the hitters.
I think Morton's definitely got that, but he's also still got really good physical ability too, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, the reason that I was going to make that that comparison there is because I mean Wayno is still like worth $15 million a year. And if we're talking about Charlie at 20, yeah, I would do that. So,
yeah.
All right. Do we want to talk about guys like Luis Severino, Chris Bassett, Nate Eovaldi, or any of the Noah Syndergaard, or any of the relievers, or do we just kind of want to leave it there?
So all those guys that you kind of mentioned, I don't think Severino is actually going to be a free agent because the Yankees are just going to pick up his option. But the other guys, none of those guys are really front of the rotation type guys. They're more like middle to the back end of rotation, especially when you're getting to guys like Sean Manaea and I don't know, like they're solid pitchers, and I'm sure they'll get deals this upcoming season, but they're not going to get anything like these frontline guys that we mentioned, like Rodon, Verlander, DeGrom, those guys.
Yeah.
I do want to throw one more name out there, though.
All right.
International free agent. His name is Kodai Senga. He's a Japanese pitcher. He's pitched 11 years. He's going to be 30 next year. Over his entire career in NPB, he's got like a 2.45 ERA over almost 1,300 innings. This season, he's got a 2.05 ERA in 105 innings. So he's like one of the best pitchers in the in that league, and he's going to be coming to the majors next year and kind of like in his prime age. So I'm kind of thinking of him like I'm comparing him to Kevin Gausman last year, about the same age, coming off a really good season. And Kevin Gausman got like 5 years and 110 million. So I could see him being pretty much near the top of everyone's list for starting pitchers as a free agent this upcoming winter.
So, do posting fees come out of that, or are they on top of that?
I'm not sure what the posting situation would be, but he may actually be a legitimate free agent, so they may not have to pay the posting fee or anything like that.
Oh, that'd be interesting. We haven't seen that in a while, have we? Of like a big name guy.
There was no posting fee for Ohtani, I don't think.
I thought there was.
I'm not sure.
So yeah, I guess the one other thing, or the one other guy I wanted to kind of mention, and this is a guy that I don't think is going to hit free agency, but the one other guy that if for some reason the Twins were dumb and declined a $12 million club option would be Sonny Gray. He would definitely be up there as like not an ace guy, but like a number 3 that I think teams would be interested in. Especially as maybe more of your budget friendly starting pitcher option. For a team that has an ace, they need some depth. I don't expect him to become a free agent because the Twins don't really have anybody other than Joe Ryan and Bailey Ober. And
they got Tyler Mahle now.
Is he a free agent next year, or is he still signed?
Or no, they got him for another year.
Okay. So, but yeah, so I did want to mention him because technically he could be a free agent. He's just probably not gonna be. So yeah, that's a very quick and dirty preview of kind of what the free agent market looks like for 2023. We could talk about these guys for hours and go through the list of like who all's a free agent on every team. A lot of the guys aren't really all that interesting though. So if you got any questions or you want us to talk about a specific player, reach out to us. Let us know on Facebook and Twitter or YouTube comments or TikTok or whatever. And we will see if that is something that we want to bring into a future episode here, because I guarantee we talk about this again, especially towards the end of the season or in the off season. But I think that pretty well does it for today. You got any closing arguments, statements you want to make?
It would be funny if Nolan Arenado opted out of his contract and became a free agent.
If Nolan Arenado opts out of his contract, I'm going to cry and the show will be canceled.
He kind of has a case to do it now.
Yeah, but he shouldn't.
What do you mean he shouldn't?
I'm going to cry and cancel the show if he does it. That's why he shouldn't. Jeez. I still don't think he's going to be honest with you. Like, yeah, he definitely is making a case for being able to get more money, but he seems to really like his situation in St. Louis. Like, I
sign back for more money.
I feel like if anything, he would probably go to Mo and threaten to opt out if he didn't get a extension with a restructuring of his contract. But I feel like he's not going to actually opt out. I feel like it would basically be an extension because he does legitimately love being a Cardinal. You could tell that just in all of his interviews and things, and he just seems so much happier than when he was in Colorado. I mean, hell, he was in interviews here this week talking about how like the Cardinals haven't locked up the Central by any means, but he's sitting there talking about how this is going to be the first time he's ever been on a team that won the division. And he sees kind of what the Cardinals are doing and being able to work with Goldie, being able to work with Pujols and Yachty. He just seems like he's having so much fun that I don't think he's going to leave that. You got me ranting about Nato. Thanks.
That was a bad final statement for me to make.
It's a bad final statement for you to make.
I just couldn't help myself.
All right. So if you've enjoyed this podcast, please make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcasting app or YouTube. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Breaker, Pocket Casts, more of them. If we're not on your favorite, let me know and I'll figure out how to get there too. Make sure to hit that little notification bell on YouTube so that you get notifications whenever we post new videos like baseball cards, YouTube shorts, or the full episode that we add the video every week. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or TikTok at Getaway Day Pod. And I think that is all for this week. So we will see you back here next week, potentially at a different time. Stay tuned to our social media for that, because I believe Gotham's got some stuff going on that we might have to choose a different day. And then we'll have a couple interesting episodes here the next couple weeks, because I believe you're going on a pretty long trip that's going to make it hard to do some podcasting.
Yes, indeed. But you'll hold down the fort.
I will hold down the fort. I'm going to try and bring in maybe a couple of guest hosts. And if I can sit down and focus, I might try and solo pod. We'll see. So thank you very much for joining us today. If you're on Twitch, make sure to stick around. We will do a raid here pretty soon. But thank you and have a great rest of your day.